nothing about this movie makes any sense. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. Thank you so much for joining us today as we discuss Disney's Haunted Mansion. Now, this movie has had a long development cycle. Originally, it was going to be written and directed by Guillermo del Toro, who is a huge fan of the Haunted Mansion ride. We don't really know exactly what it was going to be about, but we do know that the Hatbox Ghost was going to be a part of the movie. This was before Hatbox Ghost was even put back into the Disneyland attraction that we know today. And for reasons that have been explained very coyly, Del Toro was let go of the project. Now, according to people who were close to it, apparently the issue was that Del Toro's version of Haunted Mansion was a little too scary. Like, it was leaning into the PG-13 territory, and they wanted to be more of a family film. They didn't want it to be a horror film. So what do? They make a version of Haunted Mansion that leans into the PG territory, but is just scary enough to not be family friendly, but then it's also lighthearted enough to where it's not exactly suitable for teens and adults either. And then, of course, rather than release it in October, where people are probably looking to watch a movie like Haunted Mansion, they're going to release it in July, which is why I don't feel too bad about waiting 3 weeks later to review it, because, heck, if the release schedule didn't make sense, why should the review schedule, right? Now, the movie follows a guy. He goes on ghost tours, but he used to be like a paranormal investigator of some sort. He designed a camera that could take pictures of ghosts, and he's invited to a house to spot ghosts, and it ends up that the house is haunted and there are ghosts there, but now he and a bunch of other people can't leave the house, and they have to figure out why this haunted mansion wants to keep souls in the house. Now, on the surface, this is not a terrible idea for a movie based on the Haunted Mansion, because why else would you willingly stay in a haunted mansion? And there is a lot of intrigue leading up to, like, what spirit is coming here. There are ghosts in the house, but most of them seem friendly. But there is one ghost in particular that seems to be very evil and seems to be controlling everything that's going on. So what's going on? It's not a terrible premise, but the problem is it's not a well-executed one either. Because the longer this movie goes on and the more you find out about what's going on with the ghost and why you can't leave the house without being haunted and stuff, it makes less and less sense as it goes along. Without going into too much spoilers, basically the Hatbox Ghost, who's the villain in this movie, I don't think I'm spoiling that. I think that was pretty clear if you are a fan of the ride or watched any of the previews. He wants to bring people back to the house, and it's because he needs a sad soul. And without giving away why he needs that sad soul, it starts falling apart and he realizes he has that one soul at the beginning of the movie. We don't need to do any of what's going on, and it makes no sense why anything unravels the way it does. What's more, as I mentioned before, this is a movie that desperately wants to be a genuinely scary moment. Now, the ride was kind of a mixture of the scary and the fun. If you've been on the Disneyland or Disney World ride, you'll know the ride starts very scary, very foreboding, and then as it goes along, it gets a little bit more cheerful near the end of the ride, and maybe that would have been a direction this movie could have taken. But come on, when people go to a movie called Haunted Mansion, they probably want it to be scary. And it's even more confusing that Guillermo del Toro was let go from this project, because this is a guy who has made PG-13 movies. He has made family films. Guillermo del Toro would have been the perfect man to direct a movie based on Haunted Mansion, and even though it might have been a little bit more scary than your typical Disney film, he would have made them a great Haunted Mansion film, and it could have been like Pirates of the Caribbean or Barbie, where even though the movie exists essentially to sell a product or an attraction or an experience of some sort, he could have exceeded and went beyond the material. And what we have here is not that. Now, what we have here is not a dumpster fire. It's not like there's no fun to be had at all. Danny DeVito can be pretty fun, and Lakeith Stanfield is a leading man, and like he is very good. And I love, well, not love, I adore Rosario Dawson. I always have, ever since I was a teenager. That woman can smile and brighten my day whenever she wants. And it's fun to see Jamie Lee Curtis in an iconic Disney role. That being said, none of the characters are super interesting, and it's kind of starts getting goofy when it shouldn't be, and it never gets as scary as it should be. And so the whole movie just kind of feels flat for the most part. Like, it's like you're watching, it's like, is this movie for kids? Is it for teens? Is it supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to be scary? There was probably a way to do this properly, and this wasn't it. So as much as I wish it were a good Haunted Mansion movie, I definitely think that the Haunted Mansion has potential to be a good movie, unlike other attractions at Disneyland. I have to give Haunted Mansion 2 out of 5 stars. It's just not anything noteworthy. The only thing that's noteworthy about this movie is how unnoteworthy it is, and to know that in the back, pre-production, there was probably a much, much better movie that was going to be made at some point that ultimately did not get made. But I would like to know, what do you think of this movie? Do you agree, disagree? Are you going to see Haunted Mansion? And why on earth do you think they release this in July? I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, they want it on Disney Plus by October, but, you know, theatrical tickets make money. Disney Plus doesn't make money. I mean, nothing about the existence of this movie makes any sense, but I would like your thoughts on it anyway, so comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.